So, good evening. I'm going to be going over an assignment that was really good, just as a way to reinforce what we've been doing with academic language. Some of you that are still struggling a little bit. First of all, let's take a look. This is a math lesson. So, what happens a lot with math is that the person, the teacher writing the lesson plan is really thinking that's good. They're thinking about the math objective and how to meet that math objective. They get down here to talking about the academic language. They, most of the time, I find that at least in the first few attempts, they're still trying to discuss the math objective. But this is clearly about academic language. So we're only talking about the language. So even though in this lesson they're working on a learning how to create equations, she's going to focus on the language. And so I can tell right away she's chosen describe. So the learner will describe equal groups in whole number multiplication equations during turn and talk. So immediately I know just from this one sentence that this student is thinking about how they are able to take a language activity like a math talk, a turn and talk, and now they're not talking about multiplication equations and how to teach it. They're describing this language activity. So the academic vocabulary and content vocabulary, you all don't seem to have any difficulty coming up with that. Now notice that the learner will describe, clearly stated in the function, and comes down here, and then she clearly states again, the discourse for this lesson is to provide a description. Well, that's what you're doing when you describe. You're coming up with a description, so it makes sense. So we've got this, and it matches with this. It's clear from here that we're talking about language, and describe is also something you would do with language. A description is something you would do with language. Now, not only was this part correct, but also when we got down here to general supports, this was correctly done. The whole definition of a general support is that it's used by a whole class, and it could be used for more than one demand. That's what makes it general. So the whole class is given an anchor chart. Targeted supports are different because these are supports that are created or found and are used specifically to support one of the functions. And the functions are, excuse me, one of the demands. And the demands are discourse, vocabulary, and function. So it's discourse or syntax, vocabulary, function. These are the language demands. So targeted supports, these are strategies that focus on a specific language demand. It gives you some examples. These may be addressed in small groups. They can be general supports that have been modified, but they are developed to target these language demands. Individual supports are a course for individuals. Anyway, I just wanted to take this time to show you this this very good example, and hopefully it'll help you understand what you need to be doing in order to get just this part right now. And we can worry about details of academic language a little bit later. Have a good night.